What's up, guys? Jared Keys here. I basically just wanted to give you guys my Olympia predictions for this year. I've been following the Open pretty closely this year, as well as Classic Physique. So, I can definitely give you guys, an accurate, basically accurate based off of, how I feel, how the placing can go at the Mr. Olympia. In the 212, I kind of kept a little bit of track of that. You got Derek Lunsford, a few other good guys in that 212, but I haven't really been following the 222 too much. But I did actually already see the prejudging for 212. Got Derek, looks like he's going to be in that #1 spot. Sean Clarita looking like he's going to be in second. His best physique by far. Very happy for him to bring that, up, being such a smaller statured guy as well too. It makes me feel good knowing that we can crack that top two. And then I'm trying to remember who the other guy was. He's been up in media a lot. I can't remember what his name is. I think he's from the Middle East or something like that, but he's looking great in the top three. So let's go ahead and get started with the Open. As for the Open, I have to be the one, I guess, the unpopular opinion, the devil's advocate, or whatever you want to say. I think Hadi Choopan is going to win the Mr. Olympia 2019. Hadi, he brings a lot of different things to the table. He brings a very, very dense, muscle, mature, physique. He also brings granite conditioning. I mean, there's very few people that can out-condition him. And then on top of that, too, he's beaten Brandon Curry in the past, who is a lot of people's favorite to win. With that being said, Brandon Curry is my #2 pick. I take nothing away from him. This is his best physique by far. Absolutely insane muscle mass, absolutely insane shape. His conditioning looks like it's going to be the best it's ever been, or close to it. I'm really, really excited for him, and even if he wins, I can completely understand where that comes from. I just think Hadi is just bringing that one extra thing. If he comes in with that granite condition, he's just going to stand out in that whole entire lineup, if you ask me. And #3, I have William Bonac. Believe it or not, I had William Bonac beating Brandon Curry at one of the earlier shows this past year. I think that William, really, really brought. I think his conditioning and everything was a little bit better than Brandon's, but I think Brandon has made the improvements that he's needed to make, in this period of time since they've last competed against each other. That Brandon has actually maybe surpassed what we've seen from William so far. There's also the aspect of William leaving his coach. There may or may not have had an effect on his prep. I mean, to be completely honest with you, an athlete at that level already knows what they need to do with their body. But the truth is, having that second opinion, having that person that can make those decisions, maybe have you make a riskier decision that you weren't going to make, or have you make a less risky, decision just to play it safe. It's good to have, someone, especially with the experience of Will's old coach, Neil Yoda Hill, in your corner. With that being said, though, you can't take that shape, you can't take that muscularity away. And the conditioning, I mean, he knows what he ate in the past to get in condition, so at very worst, maybe he can at least bring his past condition. And I think he's going to be at least good enough for 3rd. Dexter Jackson. I think Dexter Jackson is going to take 4th. And the reason why I say that is because Dexter just came off of a strong win in Tampa, looking pretty darn good. I mean, he's a little bit, from what I hear, he's a little bit off from his very, very, very best. But at the same time, too, he's just so consistent. It's hard to think that he's going to be any worse than Tampa. And he looked great in Tampa. I think one thing that a lot of people kind of noticed, I like Luke Sandow a lot. A lot of people noticed Luke Sandow kind of gave him a run for his money. I think Luke looks really, really good. I think Luke looks good enough to even crack the top 6. But with that being said, my next choice would be #5, Rolly Winkler. The reason why I picked Rolly Winkler is because of that muscle mass. They reward development. They reward muscularity. They reward, just having, that it takes a lot of hard work to build, a lot of muscle. It takes time, too. So I feel like that's the #1 thing that's rewarded in bodybuilding is development. Rolly, his conditioning is usually not there. And, I don't say that to take away from him, away from his physique at all. He still, could be Mr. Olympia. All these guys that I've mentioned, could be Mr. Olympia, this year. But the truth of the matter is, I just feel like Rolly, out of all these guys, he's the one that's most likely not to be 100% on the money. And I don't mean to say that, anything, on him personally or anything like that, but just saying, if he were to bring his conditioning, crazy, he could probably have won Mr. Olympia, or even maybe not Mr. Olympia, but, maybe Arnold Classic or different things like that. Where he's came really close, but he wasn't able to knock it off. But I feel like once he's able to figure out that conditioning thing, man, he could be top. He could be top 2. He could even win, in a year like this. But that, like I said, I have Luke Sandow for number 6. Like I said, I think he looked absolutely amazing. He pushed Dexter Jackson to the limit at Tampa. I think Dexter still had the edge, but Luke was very close, and that says a lot of good things for Luke in this period of time. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to classic physique. Man, oh my gosh. All right, so starting with number 1, Breon Ansley. I say Breon Ansley because, dude, like, he's Mr. Olympia. This is his second, this is his 3rd year going for the Mr. Olympia title. He's got 2 years in a row. So that, already has a lot of momentum going forward. Now, we're talking about the absolute muscularity and development. Muscularity and development is being awarded a lot more in classic physique. So when you look at Breon Ansley's physique, you just see absolute shape. You see absolute, development. You see all the muscle groups that are, they're where they're supposed to be, and they're big. He's developed like a bodybuilder, but he has that classic shape, that people like to say. But he's still built like a bodybuilder. Like, it's just very, very, very hard to beat that. So basically, I have Breon winning this one by a landslide. I mean, not because the other dudes aren't close, just simply because Breon is so close to what the judges describe as what classic is. It's a no-brainer when you see his physique. And I know a lot of people, they make the argument between, what's a more classic physique between Breon or Chris Bumstead, and the truth of the matter is it's Breon all day. Breon is built like a 90s or an 80s bodybuilder. Bumstead, he looks great. Don't get me wrong. His development is actually getting very amazing, especially for his age. But the truth of the matter is Breon's development is already there. You can't take that away from him, and that's what makes a classic bodybuilder, is the development. It's not the natural born shape. Now, with that being said, we're in the topic of development. I think number 2 is going to be George Peterson, straight up. He is the most developed besides Breon. I mean, you can even argue that they're equally developed, or maybe George is slightly more developed, but it's a muscle contest at the end of the day. I mean, Chris Aceto said it. I've heard Breon say it. Jonathan Hamburg told me that. It's a muscle contest. It's about who has the most muscle and development on stage. Obviously, you have to be able to present that, and you have to be able to portray that in the way that the judges want to see that. But at the same time, too, I'm saying, if you're conditioning, that's another thing. George Peterson brings absolute conditioning, so you can't even argue that he doesn't come in condition. He brings in absolute shape, absolute size, and absolute conditioning. His muscles have a great shape. His structure is just a little bit different. They say that his legs could be a bit bigger, and that he could have, maybe a smaller waist or different things like that. But it's hard to take away from his physique when he's just, that good. He's really, really, really that good. I know he doesn't hit the vacuum. I know he doesn't have like a 27-inch waist, but he's like, the things that actually matter in bodybuilding, he knocks those out the park better than anybody else besides Breon. With that being said, I have Chris Bumstead in 3rd. I think Chris Bumstead rightfully deserves 3rd place. I think, his development, like I said, is getting there. It's much better. I mean, this physique compared to last year is a landslide difference. I mean, the main thing is that, he knows about the health problems that he had, and he's been able to actually work on those and improve those things. And, he's able to, I guess, maybe better his prep, knowing, that he has these medical things, so he can, make certain adjustments in advance or have outlets for if something were to go bad or anything like that. I think he looks absolutely, absolutely amazing. I mean, the shape, the conditioning, the posing, everything is on point, I think, for this year. He just needs a little bit more size, and that takes time. Next, I have Henry Pierre-Ano. Henry, oh my gosh, man. Like, this dude, he looks amazing, man. I got to be straight up and honest. I wasn't a huge fan last year. I felt like he could have brought his legs up a little bit more. I think he's brought his legs up in the past year. I think his conditioning is even crazier than it's ever been. He's got more muscle mass. I mean, he's going to be one of the most developed dudes in the whole entire division. I mean, I know he's not even going to stick in classic for that long. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to do that with his, with him being so large. But with that being said, development and muscularity is going to be rewarded. So I see him in no worse than 4th place. There's very few people that are more developed than him in this whole entire industry. Not in the whole entire industry, excuse me. A lot of open bodybuilders, 212 guys are going to be much bigger, much more developed. But in the classic division, I mean, there's nobody more developed than, I guess, Breon, George, and Henry, really, at this point. You've also got Kirill Kudayev. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name. I believe he's from the Ukraine. Dude looks absolutely amazing. He was actually able to beat the Black Panther, I think his name's Kovia or something like that, Don Kovia. This dude, Don Kovia, looked really, really sick. He has that classic shape, and he's got, bubbly 3D muscles, and he's got everything. But at the same time, too, Kirill just really just showed that he's so much more developed than even the guys that we consider a super classic or super, aesthetic. Kirill Kudayev just had that just unbelievable, overpowering physique that I think, is going to be rewarded on the Olympia stage if he nails that conditioning, which, his conditioning was great when he won. So it's hard to say that, he can't at least, bring what he brought that, in the past and at least do as good as he did. I think personally, Kirill's my number 5 pick. Just not a lot of people more developed than him. I mean, like I said, I think it's more of a muscle contest and a development thing. Obviously, the conditioning has to be there, but once you have the muscle mass, it's, that's that. And that's what brings me on to number 6, Keon. Keon is a friend of mine, actually. I like Keon a lot. He's a really good guy. He's young. He's very passionate about the sport. He's very passionate about, helping people. He's a very, very, very inspirational person that's willing to help out a lot of up-and-coming athletes. He says a lot of nice things on social media. He really, really is a good person. But with that being said, the reason why I have him in 6, Keon's development is amazing, man. I mean, it's hard for a short guy, straight up. I mean, Keon's he's 5'5", I'm 5'5" 3/4. It's hard, man. But the truth of the matter is, when you're able to bring that muscular development, that shape, you get rewarded. It's about development. So the truth of the matter is, Keon is the next most developed person in the classic physique division. He also has the best shape. I mean, if not, there's a few other guys that, have really, really crazy shapes, but a lot of people can say that Keon has the best shape. He's got, legs, he's got lats, he's got arms, he's got every muscle group. There's no weaknesses when you look at his physique. He just had to bring that conditioning in. But I've seen some pictures, man. His conditioning is looking like it's going to be on point this year. So as long as he's able to lock in that conditioning, I think top 6 is, the bare minimum for him. And that brings me on to some honorable mentions. These are guys that I think all either, look amazing and could crack the top 6. Or, they just deserve a shout out. Just simply, these are just some of the guys I know of. And, I definitely can't get to everybody. So if I miss any athletes, man, I don't mean anything personal. I know all of you guys absolutely killed it. All of you guys are literally on the top of your industry. You know what I'm saying? You guys are all the best of the best. So the truth of the matter is, I'm humble and I want to be like you guys. So, I'm kind of studying the game. With that being said, recent development, Chan Kang from, I believe he's from China. He actually just got his visa to compete at the Olympia. This guy looks insane, too. He's another guy that's super developed, hyper-developed, that could be in the top 6. I don't know what his conditioning looks like, and I don't really know, how his posing is going to look or anything like that on stage. So that's why I decided to leave him out the top 6. But he's a very, very serious threat to the top 6. Ahmad. Oh, my gosh. This dude went from 212 to classic. Do I really need to say much else? Also, Alex, I can't think of his last name. Starts with a C. It's like Caballero, something like that. That dude, another guy, 212 to classic, instant threat to the top 6. I also have Arash Rabar. Arash, he's kind of fallen off a little bit, but he still has just one of those classic physiques, and he's one of the most developed guys in the division as well. So you have to mention him as well. Jonathan Hambrick, the youngest person that's going to be in the Olympia. That's another friend of mine. He looks amazing. This is his best conditioning by far. Amazing. His shape is great. He's getting looks like he's a little bit fuller too coming into the Olympia. I'm super excited to see how he does. Especially with him being so young, only 21 years old. It's another thing, kind of like Chris Bump said, it just takes time to get that development. So once he gets that development, I don't see why Jonathan wouldn't be a top 6 guy. Courage Opara, that's a guy that could easily be in the top 6 himself. Courage is amazing, man. I mean, this guy, he had a really good placing at the Arnold Classic. He actually, I'm trying to think. He's just got a crazy shape, and he's got some pretty good development too. It's catching up to the top of the top. So that's a guy that you guys should definitely look out for. Marvin Corneo. Marvin, conditioning looks absolutely insane for where he's at right now. Get ready for the show. Seen some really good videos and pictures of him. I feel like Marvin looks great. He just needs a little bit more size, overall to be in that hyper-developed category. But conditioning-wise, he's going to be one of the most conditioned on stage, hands down. So, anyways, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for today. Like I said, I just wanted to go over some of my predictions. Like I said, these are just my predictions. I don't mean anything personal to anybody out of any of these things. Besides, the compliments and the nice things I said, I mean those, straight to the heart. But, besides that, this is all pretty much objective. It's all me trying to, be an objective, student of the sport, trying to see, what I think is going to happen. I'm going to compare this to, how the judges decide, and, that'll help me gauge, how well my ability to gauge physiques are too. But with that being said, these are all predictions before we even see, any of these guys on stage. So the truth of the matter is, once we see them on stage, it'll be even easier to make these predictions. But until then, this is what I got, guys. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, share, or subscribe. And subscribe. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.